This is Justin with Style as Substance. According to Islamic theology, Adam and Hawa were the first humans created by God. In the Quran, God placed them in the garden, where they were free to enjoy any fruit on any tree, except one. The devil convinced them to go against the commands of God and eat the fruit. After giving into temptation and eating this fruit, Adam and Hawa became shameful of their actions. They covered their naked bodies with leaves. As punishment, God banished the two from paradise and sent them to earth. This is where they repented and were ultimately forgiven. Everything was free for the taking except this tree. This tree represents an idea, a way of life. Adam and Hawa were given a new way to look at life, now with an understanding and establishment of ownership in currency that would pave the way for the future of humanity. It was then decided by God that those who follow him would be rewarded in the afterlife, and those who stray away would be punished. Throughout different cultures and religions, this fruit has been depicted in art and literature time and time again as an apple, to the point that the apple has become a symbol of temptation.
This is no ordinary apple.
Or as a key to a greater understanding, often symbolizing the Judeo-Christian perspective of the fruit, picked from the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Here, go ahead, try it.
According to scripture, this was a dichotomy that was not understood by humans until the fruit was eaten. In the 1998 Iranian film Seeb, or The Apple, the fruit is a symbol integral to the themes director Samira Makhmalbaf chose to explore. To her, the apple is, of course, a good thing. It was the first thing that caused all of us to come to this world, to start living. So how can it be bad? If it is bad, it means all of this world is bad. Makhmalbaf's optimistic view of a traditionally evil symbol shows us her overall positive and hopeful outlook on the world, despite the fact that her films consistently address social injustices and hardships present in Iranian society and the Muslim world. At the young age of 17, Samira Makhmalbaf followed the footsteps of her father, the acclaimed filmmaker Massoumeh Makhmalbaf, by directing The Apple. The film follows two sisters, Massoumeh and Zahra Naderi, who were locked up in their house by their parents, an unemployed man and his blind wife. After neighbors report the situation to authorities, social workers lead an investigation, and the sisters are exposed to the outside world and integrate into Iranian society. The Apple is based on a true story that occurred as the film was being shot. The Naderi sisters play themselves. Even their controlling father plays himself. But the film isn't really a traditional narrative film, but it's not quite a documentary either. This was a staple of the Iranian New Wave, with directors such as Abbas Kiarostami, Mohsen Makhmalbaf, and Jafar Panahi. This wave of films continuously blurred the lines between fiction and reality, in efforts to not only make viewers question and reconsider what exactly a film is, but also to address social issues by reflecting reality within this visual medium. It's not quite what reality is. It is filtered in a manner that we can see it, both for how it is and simply for how we want to see it.
I think cinema can be the same as a mirror in front of a culture. Show it to itself and tell it what is wrong with you. Maybe at first they don't find, culture and people doesn't want to look at it. And they tell, okay, I prefer continue my own way. But if you, express on your idea and keep mirror in front of them, at first, at least, it can show them to themselves, can change something.
And this is where I believe Samira Makhmalbaf succeeds in her film, reflecting life for what it is. By attempting to remain unbiased and non-judgmental, and let the viewer judge what is filmed and edited for themselves, we are presented with reasons to be both critical and sympathetic to the father of the children. His wife is blind, and he must go out to find a way to provide for his family. He does not want his daughters to wander off and get lost or hurt. But the social workers argue that he is denying his daughters their place in society.
اینا فردا آینده دارن میخوان تو اجتماع بیان چند سال دیگه باید شوهر بکنن تشکیل خونه و زندگی.
Their neighbors refer to the girls as prisoners.
من الان چند سال اینجا اینو بنده خدا مثل یه زندانی همیشه هواخوری هم ندارم بالا مثل زندانی هم نیستم زندانی رو بالاخره هواخوری.
Even the girls consider themselves to be prisoners.
حالت خوبه؟ چیکار میکنی؟ اینجا زندانی هستی؟ برای چی؟ در قفله.
But the father simply does not see it like this. He wants what is best for his daughters, and he may not be conscious of what can be seen as abuse. The story makes newspapers, but the media does not give him his chance to speak. So the father feels dishonored and misrepresented. Nobody knew him before, and now he is publicly shunned. This is where the film comes in and gives him the chance to speak. He argues with the social workers about the situation, and he is even brought to tears.
نبردم نفرستادم مدرسه ولی دیگه زنجیرش نکردم که این چه افترایی به من گفتی چرا باعث آبروی من شدی
نه چه فرق میکنه یا زنجیر کنن یا بندازن خونه فرق نمیکنه یکیه دیگه
از کنم که چیزم که روزنامه نشده بود این بچه‌ش رو زنجیر کرده
گریه نکنه
آخه من برای چی آخه بچه‌م رو زنجیر کردم من این در را خب مادرش چشم نداره عاجز بسته که بچه‌ش نره بیرون.
In many ways, what is good and what is bad is in the eye of the beholder. Sometimes we may feel that we are doing the right thing, but in actuality, we may be causing more harm.
مگه قرار نبود بچه‌ها رو تو نظری در قفل نکنی روشون؟
مجبور.
چی مجبوری؟
مجبورم دیگه
نه هیچ مجبور
من یک نفر.
In reality, there are countless amounts of individual and intersecting stories occurring at once, but we are restricted to our individual limited experiences. Generally speaking with films, what we see is limited to a series of shots that aid in telling a singular story. We don't know what would occur outside of what we are told and shown. These girls, locked away in their house, are restricted to this space. They look to the sun shining in the sky and they water their plant that grows outside as they remain indoors. They know there's more out there, an entire world, but they have not been properly exposed to it.
Gone.
And that's what this film is about and is documenting. Moving past this restricted area and facing the world. Moving past the artifice of film and facing reality. They have to take a bite of the apple and begin living. But it's a bit more difficult than simply doing that. When we become so used to the way something is, the way we are told to behave, it can be a bit difficult to deviate from that. The social worker may let the kids go, but they are so used to being locked inside that they come back.
ببین والا عادتشون دادی اینا رو شرطی کردی که برگردن خونه برگردیم ببینم بدوی
In order to truly be free, they must first know that they can be. But this isn't limited to the Naderi sisters, as it's applicable to Iranian society and how it treats its citizens. Many Iranians are censored from ideas, both in terms of gaining access to them and also expressing them. Sometimes it is based on laws and restrictions set in place by the government. Other times it is self-censorship, ingrained in the collective consciousness by culture and tradition.
من که زندانشون نکردم خودشون دوست دارن تازه شبم که این در را باز میکنم که یه خورده هوا بخورم میان تو در را خودشون میبندن
عادتشون دادی به این زندگی.
It is also both a class and gender issue. Money becomes a source of what is and isn't expressed. And gender also dictates who gets to speak and who gets to be listened to. But this is not just in Iran, but also Hollywood too.
I think there is some censorship in Iran, some ideological, and I think in whole world we have censorship by money. When you don't have any money, it means you will be censored at first moment when you want to express your idea. But and for women, I mean for female working in all, I mean having job in society would be more than harder than men, not only in Iran but also in whole world. Because in Iran they think women are the second-hand human, so having a first-hand job would be strange for them.
Of course, with the apple, Samira Makhmalbaf breaks the conventional norm of what is expected in terms of gender, age, and narrative.
The apple was invited to Cannes Festival on Certain Regard section in 1998. Gerard Depardieu and Jean-Luc Godard praised the film, and the apple was well received in tens of international film festivals throughout the world.
وقتی که من با فیلم سیب اومدم یه سوال خیلی جالبی از من میشد، میگفتن که ما نمیدونیم ایران چه سرزمینیه. آیا ایران کشوریه که این دوتا بچه دختر سیب وقتی که 13 سالشونه بیرون نیومدن و عقب افتاده اجتماعیشن، یا کشوری که دختر 18 ساله میتونه ازش بیاد کن و فیلم سینما.
Still, these deviations from social expectations can only go so far. Ideas may still be censored. Tradition, culture, and religion are all political and will be bent and contorted, whether consciously or subconsciously, to the wills of others who assume positions of authority. Consider this bit where the father justifies his actions through the words of an old book.
بفرمایید شما مطالعه کنید ببینید چی نوشته در حق دختر. نوشته دختر مثل گله، اگر بره آفتاب بزنه پژمرده میشه، یعنی آفتاب مثل مرد نامحرمه، اون دخترم که مثل گل.
But this is not good enough for the social workers, who want the girls to experience life, whether that means fading away or not. The girls must take the apple and grow as people. The social worker locks the father inside as his daughters go out and play, so that he has a better understanding of the impact of his actions. And before long, he begins to saw his way out of the barred doors, breaking all that he has worked to preserve prior to this. Having had virtually no social interactions until this point, the girls soon discover the world for its good and bad. They soon learn that they must pay for things like ice cream, rather than have everything given to them. While their social and linguistic skills are poor at this point, they do manage to make friends soon enough, and to some extent, assimilate into life beyond their home. The first step was taking that leap.
بچه‌ها بیایید بخوابیم، مسابقه بذاریم که هر کس زودتر سیبش خورد اون برنده است. باش، 1 2 3.
In the end, the girls eat these apples with their new friends. This is what life ought to be, a shared experience. By eating these apples, they symbolically embrace and accept life for the evil and good that it may be.
مرسی. دستت درد نکن.
Eventually, the father breaks out and moves on, beyond the boundaries of the camera, beyond what is filmed. But one person remains in the house, and that is the mother. In an interview, Makhmalbaf stated, if these girls are going to develop, to change, the mother has to come out. If she doesn't come, she doesn't let the children continue their developing, their changing, so she has to come. And eventually, she does just this. At the very end, a boy teases the mother by dangling an apple in front of her. She is blind and hard of hearing, but the apple is there, around her, taunting her, just as life itself and the world at large is calling her, just as it called her husband and called her daughters. Makhmalbaf has stated that the boy represents both God and the devil. He is provoking her to have this apple, but at the end, he is the person, the same as God, who put the apple, put the life in the hand of the mother. So at the same time, he is Satan and God, provoking, but putting the apple in her life. The mother must leave the house and take this apple. The family must accept life for what it is, good and bad. But more importantly to Samira Makhmalbaf, what is real. Life is both captured on film and transformed by film. But what we do not see, the world beyond the camera, The unfiltered reality is calling them. The apple is calling them, just as it has called Adam and Hawa, and just as it calls us today. Special thanks to my patron Yakov Janoi. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoy my content, consider subscribing and sharing my work around. If you really enjoy what I do and want to be included in my credits, consider donating to my Patreon. I cover controversial and sensitive subject matter at times, so I'm not sure how good my chances of channel monetization really are. But I'll continue making videos that I want to make, and I have more on the way. So please stick around. Bye.